Cheers. We are now in the final stretch. We have 2 more boats to go. And tonight we're going to review the Cruisers 5000. Now, I have to admit, I never had heard about a Cruisers 5000 brand. Mostly Carvers and Meridians and Ocean Alexanders and all that stuff have been on my list. I've never heard about this brand. So I think we were both pleasantly surprised when we went to go see it because we'd never seen one before. And this particular boat was in fresh water, which is one of the 2 boats that were in fresh water that we saw. So let's go. Let's make it happen. So here we're looking at the back, and I actually was surprised that this boat had a hydraulic swim step. That's something I really wanted on a boat. Here we are walking in through the cockpit, and the thing I noticed is that a lot of the same pieces that were used for parts and doors and whatnot were very Silverton-esque. Yeah. There's a lot of things in this boat that remind me of a Silverton.
There's a lot of space here in the salon that I really, really liked. Like the galley is literally almost the length of the couches. Mm-hmm. There's just a ton of space from window to window that I thought was a really good use of space.
So here, we have the whole galley, but unlike other galleys that are maybe like a separate room, this one is really just stretched out across the starboard side. I gotta say, I didn't hate it. I didn't like it either.
I really liked it. Of all of the ones, I was surprised at how much I actually liked this boat. There's a table there for working space.
This is the downstairs helm. Really good condition. Like almost near mint condition.
And this table folds open, so there's a lot more working space there.
There is a lot of cool space down here in the lower helm. That's a full-size fridge and a full-size refrigerator.
I like the broker too. He's really nice.
And here we go down the steps, down to the lower deck. This is where all the 3 state rooms are. And here is the master. A little bit small for a master stateroom, but you're going to sacrifice some space if you have 3 staterooms.
Mm-hmm. But comfortable enough. I don't know what more you need to do but sleep.
Yeah.
In storage space. But it was nice. It looked comfy enough. There were enough cabinets there, I think.
Yeah. I find the boats that have like a diagonal bed and a diagonal stateroom, mm-hmm. They're a little bit strange, but I could get used to it. Pretty nice big locker there. You could put a lot of clothes in there.
Sheets, clothes, storage, and then going into the head.
A lot of things in this boat were in really good condition.
It was I really thought this boat was a really nice boat.
It's a little bit weird that there's blue neon mood lighting in a bathroom.
I liked it. It was different. This one of all the ones we've seen, I remember pretty clearly, but it was easy to walk. It doesn't have the walk around, like we said. Just not as spacious to walk around.
But you get 3 staterooms. Mm-hmm. This is the VIP. This is the number 2 stateroom.
It's under the bows. You could see the V.
Mm-hmm. and this one actually seemed like it had more function than the master. It has dual lockers. It has a TV. It has cupboards.
It's very cozy.
Yeah, it's kitty corner to the head.
Nice, enough space in there.
Yeah,
to do what you need to do.
Interesting,
configuration.
Cylinder rotation on the shower there.
Using space pretty well, though.
Yeah.
I would say.
No, that's a space saving design for the shower.
There's our blue light. Awesome.
Yeah. And there's some things I would update, but for the most part, they were really well put together. And here's the third room. Mm-hmm. You have kind of twin beds here.
Is this where the washer dryer is behind the beds?
Yeah, washer dryer is behind those beds, behind the mirrored doors. Here we're going up the stairs to the flybridge. And again, the flybridge was kind of, I don't know, it was kind of like singular monotone color scheme up here, but everything was very mint condition.
I thought the sight lines were really good. Like from standing right there at the helm, you could see all the way at the tip of the bow. You could turn around and see all the way at the end of the stern. It was a really well kept up boat. It was very comfortable in there. I don't know why I enjoyed my time on this boat, but I think I was just pleasantly surprised at how well it used space. And I'd never even heard of cruisers before.
Yeah, it's almost like if Silverton and Carver had a baby. This is what the boat would be. It's got some of the unique things that Silverton has, and it's got some of the practicality that Carver has.
Yeah, I like the seats there.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another working space that we could utilize.
Oh, here.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna open up the cupboard in the third stateroom. There's a full-size dryer. And then a full-size washer side by side. So you literally have the laundry room that you have at home behind those two mirrored cabinets.
You do laundry while you're sleeping.
Yeah,
Don't
right.
even have to get up.
Here down in the engine room.
Very clean, the engine room.
Engine room, this is the cleanest boat I think we looked at as far as engine rooms go.
Yeah.
Everything was like no fingerprints, no oil, no corrosion, no rust anywhere. This guy must take super pride in his engine room.
Yeah.
Everything was like brand new everything.
Clean, well maintained, tagged. It was.
Yeah.
It was. I was very pleasantly surprised
I mean,
throughout the whole walkthrough.
Look at that. Brand new exhaust elbows, brand new hoses, brand new everything. All right, so that was our video that we took on site. Let's go to the big board. Let's see how this boat turned out.
Okay.
All right, so here we are at the big board. What do you think about number one?
I like the hydraulic step. I like the open area when you first walk into the salon. There was multiple tables for us to work on. I would give it a check. I think it fits our purpose.
I think so too. There's a lot of open areas just in the transom alone and the cockpit. I could see us doing a lot of different things back there. Number two, it did have two engines. They were diesel. It didn't have my 3,000 hours. It didn't have depreciation that would have been captured if they were at 3,000 hours. But they were in really good condition. Like I didn't have any complaints about these engine rooms. They were extremely clean, extremely well maintained. I almost didn't feel worthy to take over this boat and this engine room. I felt like I would do it disservice. The guy was just very, very meticulous. So I'm gonna say, even though it didn't meet the depreciation, it does meet the 1 gallon per mile at trawler speeds, and it does have the rest 2 engines and diesel. So I'm gonna give it a check. Doesn't meet everything, but I mean, it so makes up for it in other places.
Okay, number 3, needs to have multiple desk working spaces throughout. So I would say that the lower helm, the table that's there that you can expand, is a good place to work. I would say up in the upper helm, that's another good space to work. But then I would say those are the only spaces to work.
I wouldn't really say working under the canvas would be a workspace. I mean, it's a nice table that you can have like cocktails on and food and stuff, but I just don't consider a workspace to be outside under the canvas and isinglass. But
those are really the only 2 places that have built-in desks.
Yeah.
So if we had to make it work, I would give it a check.
Yeah, I mean, it's more of a check than it is an X, but I would say...
but it's not ideal. We'd have to do a lot to make it work.
Right.
Okay. Number 4, responsive, turn on a dime, bow stern thrusters.
Yeah, so I would say number 4 is a big check. It did have bow and stern thrusters. That's nice. But the engines on this Cruiser's 5000 were enormous. They were like the biggest version that you can get. I think they were the largest, biggest horsepower you can get. So you know that this boat is going to turn on a dime. You know it's going to do pirouettes because it's so powerful in the engine room. And it's really only like a 52, maybe a little bit.
And that's with the swim step.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it would be really fun to drive this boat because it is 2 very powerful engines and stern thrusters. And it kind of has a little bit of the Silverton feel to how it's constructed. So I'd give it a big check.
It was very like, I know this is going back to like number 3 and number 1, but it was very like the flow of moving throughout the boat was really easy. You stepped in and there's just like a lot of space, I think, a lot of open areas that if we didn't have to work, it would be perfect, but we're still working, so we need working spaces. Okay, number 5.
So tankage, at least 400 miles of range and 50-gallon holding tank and 200 gallons freshwater. So I think for the most part, it hit all of these in stride. It has a 600-gallon tank for fuel, so all it has to do is get 1 mile per gallon, and it's going to get 600 miles of range. And it can probably get better based on the weight and the size of the hull. 50-gallon holding tank, it blows that away. The holding tank, I think, is 100-gallon capacity. And then the freshwater capacity is slightly smaller than 200. It's 150. But, I mean, for the most part, like, they're all either way over or pretty close. So I'm going to give it a check. I can deal with a 150-gallon freshwater tank. It's not the end of the world. If the holding tank was 40 gallons, that would be a problem. If the fuel tank was 200 gallons, 300 gallons, that would be a problem. But for the most part, tankage is really good on this boat. What about number 6?
So number 6, ample storage. So I would say that the large galley, there was a ton of storage there. I would say that each of the rooms, there were enough lockers for storage. So I would say yes. I think that we might think differently if this is the boat that we choose, that our initial walkthrough with, feeling like there's ample storage and whatnot, might be a little bit different. Definitely we won't change our mind for the galley, but the clothes and the non-food.
I felt like this is the first boat we were on where the closets were like full size. And like, your clothes could actually hang, free hanging, instead of being shoved into a little...
Or you have to fold it twice to get it to hang okay,
And there was cupboards everywhere, so storage was plentiful. Stairs between decks, not ladders, pretty self-explanatory.
There was the ladder just from the lower helm to the upper helm, but you don't have to use it.
That was for novelty purposes only.
It's always, in emergencies. But, the stairs, pretty easy. Check.
Yeah, I think the ladder on this one, we can kind of let it slide because that ladder is completely non-functional.
And you don't have to use it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
And you can walk around the whole railings without going into the boat. Yep. So there's less of a reason to be forced up and down a ladder.
Yep.
What about number 8? So there were 2 heads on the boat. That's pretty self-explanatory. There were 2 full showers, and I didn't see any wet heads.
Yeah.
So check there.
Okay. Yep.
Large full galley. All right, so this is one where I think we disagree.
This is where it gets controversial.
Yeah. So I'm going to start, and I'm going to say the galley was big enough. It was kind of weird for me, like the stove was small. Mm-hmm. It didn't have an oven, but then it had a full-size fridge and a full-size freezer.
Yeah.
And then the thing that bothered me the most about the galley was that it's like you're in the living room and then, here's a kitchen over here out in the middle of the living room. It was just, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was just, I would rather a galley be a separate space for like prepping and cooking and not like people standing in the middle of the salon while I'm watching TV. It's just weird to me.
And I'm exactly the opposite. I thought it was great. I thought there's a lot of space. I thought that I really liked that the galley had the length of it all. I don't mind that it felt like, here's the galley, you turn around, and here's the living space. It's like that in a lot of apartments and like smaller spaces. I don't know. I liked the layout a lot. Yeah. And so we're very of all the things.
Yeah.
Of all of the requirements, this is the one I can't believe we're so far apart on. You could put an X there, but I would also put a check there. Yeah. And but it's the size of your X and the size of my check, I think, that are different here. Yeah. Where we agree, number 3, right? We have it, and not ideal. I think 9. I really think that we could use it. You think opposite. We'll see what happens.
Yeah,
we'll see who wins this.
It certainly didn't get both of our votes. So at this point, we're gonna leave it a check or an X. What about number 10?
Well, and the only reason we're leaving it an X is if it's an X and a check and we can't agree, it's going to be an X, right? Yeah. Like you can't just say, it's going to work if somebody doesn't think it's going to work.
It's not on the borderline. We're bipolar on this one.
That's true. I think 10, it meets those requirements. I think the beds, the walk around, maybe not ideal. It's tight. You would not like it, knowing you when you get up in the middle of the night. You'd hate that. The bed doesn't have enough space, or the walk around doesn't have enough space.
I loved, and I'm probably not going to be doing as much like line and fender handling as you might be, but I loved the side rails and the sidewalks. It was wide. The side rails were big and you could grip them. You didn't feel like you're going to fall off the boat.
Yeah.
You didn't have to go into the boat and then come out again in order to go to the transom. So I love the side railings. The maneuverability inside the boat itself, it kind of seemed disjointed in some places, and like you had a diagonal bed, and then you had like hallways that were a little bit cramped.
See, and I didn't think that at
Yeah.
all. This one's going to be a tough one, I think, for us, because I didn't think that. I thought that the flow that you can move around was fine for me, but I'm also way shorter than you are, so I have a little different view of it all. But
I just found myself like ducking down to go in and out of rooms a lot, and I'm like, I don't want to duck down constantly when I'm downstairs. So this is kind of a split decision at the end.
Okay, so that's our review. We went through the requirements that we have. I think this one's going to be a tough one for us to agree on, because we're so, like you said, we're so far away in our opinions on a couple of the requirements that we're just going to have to prioritize them, which we really haven't had to do with the other boats. I think, we got to consider the safety aspect of it, and just the practicality, considering we're still going to be working while we're on the boat. So what do you think?
I really liked the practical aspects of this boat. I thought the engines were fantastic and immaculate down there. Mm-hmm. I felt like this is the first freshwater boat that we've actually seen in the list, and I'll tell you, when you see a freshwater boat, it looks like it's brand new.
I know, it was so nice.
Yeah.
Everything about it was shiny and nice, and I don't know, but I really like this one. This one's going to be tough for us.
It looked like a brand new boat, even though it was a 20-year-old boat. So it's hard to say no to something like that. I kind of felt like the boat was like really good on mechanical, and I didn't love the design, the non-mechanical part.
Which is so odd, because you're so flexible on like everything, that to actually have an opinion that's a little less positive is surprising.
So it's like the exact opposite of like the Ocean Alexander. If you remember, we liked the design of the Ocean Alexander. We just didn't like what was in the engine room.
Yeah.
This is like the opposite.
Yeah.
So
the Ocean Alexander is such a nice boat. All of the boats that we've seen so far are really nice. So, but this is the one that I think your opinion and my opinion on our requirements are very different. So we're going to have to duke it out offline and see where we're going to go.
It's going to be a tough decision on this one. All right, so here we are. We're cheersing to you, and we'll see you next week for the final boat in our review list.
Yeah.
The final boat next week is going to be the Carver 46 MY. And after that, we will move on to selecting our boat. Until then.
Until next time,
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Happy boating.
Happy boating.